Selah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And she was pregnant in her 30s and at 41. I think it would be
Yes.
good to brief over those first two before we get into your pregnancy at 41.
Yeah, I was thinking that too because I had my first via IVF. I don't know about you, Jamie, but I started trying in my early 30s. And that is the story of so many people. And I have
Mhm.
so many years of infertility. For me, I did start in my early 30s trying. My husband and I started trying, and it just didn't happen for us. And we tried naturally for, I want to say, 3 years. And then we were like, okay, this is not happening. And we kind of were like trying. And then as the years went on, we were more like, oh, okay, I guess we should put some intention behind this. I started really tracking ovulation and
Mhm.
temperature and all these things. And then, like, year three, we were like, okay, this is definitely not happening. So let's go get some help. So we went to a reproductive specialist and basically did everything. I mean, I have been through the ringer. They cleaned out my fallopian tubes. She scraped my uterus. She said I had a garden of polyps on my uterus.
A garden. She really said that?
Literally, a garden of polyps. I know. And by the way, most people get their polyps removed in the hospital under anesthesia. And I was wide awake on,
Whoa.
I think, like one pain pill. I don't even remember, but it was the most painful thing I have ever experienced, hands down. Worse than C-section, worse than labor. I could not take the pain. Like, it was so painful. And I got like seven polyps removed. It was the worst day of my life.
Wow.
I know. Also did not help me get pregnant. Like, didn't do anything. And then so finally we did two IUIs, which, if you're listening, is basically artificial insemination.
Mhm.
Those did not work for us. And then finally my reproductive specialist was like, I think you have endometriosis. I never was officially diagnosed, but she found an endometrioma on my uterus. And when she asked me how my periods were over the years, I was like, oh, they're horrible. They're horrendous. I thought this was normal. I thought everybody complained about cramps. No, mine were like, I could barely move. I just remember being like keeled over and thinking, everybody goes through this. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was nothing compared to what I went through every month for years. So it prepared me for labor. But yeah, that said, I definitely think that was the reason I couldn't get pregnant now, because endometriosis is kind of cured from pregnancy.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't getting that many eggs because I was older by then. I was 37.
Mhm.
So we got, I want to say, 9 eggs at first, which is not that. I mean, I had friends that got like 25 eggs. So nine isn't great, especially because then out of the nine, eight fertilized, and out of the eight, only three were viable. So it just dwindles, you remember.
Yes.
So I feel like that was why she said, let's just keep going with the IVF instead of try to have an endometriosis surgery and hope for the best kind of
Mhm.
thing. So yeah, we were successful, which was such a blessing after all that we had been through. I'm forgetting and skipping so many other things beyond the IUIs and I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember going through so many rounds of not getting any eggs because we didn't do the right level of drugs. Oh, just emotionally,
Yes. I know how that
like, this
yeah.
baby was worth it, but
Yeah.
it was a lot to
How
go.
many egg retrievals did you have?
If I remember correctly, this is like 7 years ago now, but I think we did two or three before because the first one or two were not successful. Like, we did the hormones for it, if I'm remembering correctly, and there was like one or two eggs each time.
Mm.
It was really depressing. And then we did it again because we got like the drugs right. And
Mhm.
then we got nine that one. I'm pretty sure there was two before. I was 36 and then I was 37 when we implanted. So I was a little younger in that regard, but still, again, nine is not that many.
Yeah.
So I wasn't exactly fertile Myrtle, which is why the second baby, we tried for a year to get pregnant for a sibling. We tried for a year after I was done breastfeeding. We were not successful. So finally, I'll never forget it. It was like December 22nd. And I emailed my reproductive specialist and I said, okay, let's put in that other frozen embryo. This isn't happening. And we want a brother. I'm 39 now. Or yeah, it was another boy embryo. I knew that. So I was like, let's put him in. 39, it's not happening. Then December 25th, Christmas, I wake up and I'm like, wait, I was supposed to start my period. It hasn't started. It was like a day late, which I was pretty regular,
Uh-huh.
but that's weird. Christmas morning, I find out that I'm pregnant naturally.
Oh, how
So crazy.
fun.
I know. It was such a gift. So I surprised my family on Christmas morning and my husband. He was like shocked, completely shocked. And we were driving like 3 hours to my family. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, I know this secret. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. It was such a Christmas miracle. And then again, the third pregnancy, I for sure thought that, 39 years old, second pregnancy was a total fluke. My husband's like, we should really start to talk about birth control after my second was done breastfeeding.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you're crazy. I'm done. I'm 41 years old. There's no way we're getting pregnant after all we've been through. We're fine. I'm not going to go on birth control and I'm not going to wear condoms or whatever. Like, this is crazy. And guess what? A month after I finished breastfeeding, boom,
Fun.
month, one cycle.
Now, at 2 kids, you were like, we're done. We're complete.
So people ask me this a lot, and I'm one of 8 kids. So for me, it never felt like we were complete. Like I was like, no, we can have another, we can have more. And I always said to my husband, I was like, listen, we've been through so much. If God wants us to have another baby, let's bring it on. I'm not going on birth control. If this is meant to be, it's meant to be. It's kind of like a slap in God's face to go, after
Yeah.
everything we've been through, which that is poor logic. I understand that now that I have 3 and we are done having children, I am like, let's stop this train.
And now,
I
how
know.
old is the third?
He just turned 1.
Oh, wow. A
I
year.
know, a year old.
Wow.
Yeah. He turned, I guess he's 13 months now. It was March, 13 and a half. Oh gosh, third baby. I'm like, how old is he? Yeah, almost 14 months. But yeah, he's 1.
So will you tell us like what that was like finding out in that
Oh my God.
story?
Okay. So a little TMI, but we all know how babies are made. And after the fact, I felt this crazy cramping. Okay. So like nothing I had ever felt before. And I couldn't sleep. Like it was insane, just cramping. And I literally felt like the baby was being implanted in my body. It felt a little like the IVF surgery. That's why I knew that that was happening,
Oh.
because you remember how that felt like the implantation, and the next day you just feel a little crampy, right? Like it's a weird feeling. So it felt like that, only even more. Like it was like heightened. So I called my mom the next day and I was like, Mom, this is weird. Did you ever feel any of your babies implanting? Like I've never heard anybody feeling this. And she was like, no, but you're pregnant. She's like,
She knew.
she knew. She's like, no, but you're pregnant. I'm like, okay. But I forgot about that conversation with my mom. I didn't even tell my husband this about the cramping. I literally just forgot. I have 2 other kids, I'm busy, whatever. Flash forward, I guess 3 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, whenever my cycle was supposed to happen, I guess 2 weeks later. And I'm going to a fat burning laser treatment. Okay. Like those laser treatments that burn fat. It's like my second treatment. And before I leave the house, I'm like, I feel a little weird. And then I remembered that weird cramping and I thought, I'm not pregnant. There's no way. But I had one pregnancy test left in the bathroom. So I grabbed it and ran out the door. And I'm like at the fat burning laser treatment place. And I take the test in their bathroom because obviously, like, I'd want to know if I was pregnant before doing a laser on my body.
Yeah.
So I pee on the stick and I'm like, oh my God. I call my friend who's babysitting my other 2. And I'm like, okay, Tara, go in my bathroom. There's a box of pregnancy test where it has the instructions. Read where it talks about a false positive, because I'm pretty sure this is false, but I just need, she's like, Selah, there's no false positives. You're pregnant. Like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Freaking out. Like, oh my gosh. I go in the fat burning laser office and I'm like, I don't think I should do this today. I think I'm pregnant. And like, what? So I leave, I go to the drugstore, I buy another test. Of course, as you do, because I'm like, there's no way that it's been in my bathroom forever. Like, I'm not pregnant. I was pregnant, of course.
Old.
I
And you
know.
knew that night.
I knew it. Like I'm telling you, I couldn't sleep. It was so painful. It was crazy. I know that baby was
Wild.
dead set on coming to this world. We for sure thought it was a girl. We were like, this is our miracle girl. I got my daughter. I've always wanted a girl because my mom and I are so close. Like, I just thought I would have a girl. And we go to this specialist appointment, which is part of my VBAC story. We had to go to all these specialists. And he took this very clear sonogram where the penis was very prominent. And I was like, we had a gender reveal party scheduled for that weekend, actually. And I told him, like, don't tell me the gender. And then he takes this picture and it's very obvious. I know. I was like, thanks a lot, dude. And of course, I'm like sobbing, like 3 boys. Oh my God. Oh.
Let's get into your pregnancy. How was it?
I will say, all of my pregnancies, I was very blessed. All of them were super easy for me. The only one that had an issue, ironically, was the IVF one. We had a hematoma
Oh,
on my uterus, which is very common in IVF. I didn't know that until it was happening. That was so scary and
all the
so
blood.
awful. Yes. And I really thought I was going to lose the baby at 20 weeks or whatever it was. It was insane. So that was super crazy and scary. And I had to go, not on bed rest, but I just had to like be very chill for the rest of it, which is not me at all. I used to be a personal trainer, a group fitness instructor. So I'm like very active, very energetic, obviously. So yeah, so when this third pregnancy happened, I'd already been through it twice. So my body knew what to do. And I also knew like what to look out for as far as first trimester. I was sick both pregnancies, like most people. But I knew this time, really keep eating, try to keep the snacks coming, just like preemptively think of things. And then the third pregnancy, I actually would say was the best because I already knew what to
Wow.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I was dead set on having a VBAC because I had 2 C-sections with the first two. So I did chiropractor appointments starting at, I want to say like 17 weeks every week or every other week in the beginning, I think. And then it was like every week, the whole third trimester. I did so much exercise that was geared towards having a VBAC or just having a vaginal birth in general. I did everything pointing towards that. So whether it was like stretching out my hips, deep squats, all this walking, elliptical, like anything to drop the baby. I did the spinning babies to get the baby in the right position. I was like focused. Whereas the first two, I definitely worked out all the time, but I wasn't as focused on doing stuff that was geared towards my birth as much.
What about products? Was there anything that helped you that you could recommend?
Like, okay, so in the beginning, I always am into those nausea lollipops and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. The
So
ginger ones?
the ginger, anything that was just help that seasickness, that was
Yes.
really helpful. Oh, you know what I did use this third one? And that is because I had a hernia, a ventral hernia. I
Uh-huh.
used a tummy belt to really lift my
Oh.
tummy. That
Uh-huh.
really helped. I felt like, especially because the hernia situation, I really needed that support, which was, yeah, that was great. But product wise, yeah, not much besides that.
My doula actually recommended the band for my ligament pain, my round ligament pain.
Oh, yes. Okay, you're reminding me. That definitely works. Also, yeah, that I did have round ligament pain as well, and the chiropractor really helped with that. It
Okay.
was a game changer, this third one, because I remember I think my first one, I did not go to the chiropractor and it really hurt.
It really
So,
does.
yeah, it does. You are so right. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. It's very interesting, isn't it, too, how quickly you forget. Like my
Yes.
pregnancies were great. There was nothing wrong. And then you're like, oh yeah, that did hurt. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Ah,
the little
reminding me
pains
here.
come back. Yeah.
Exactly. And oh, acid reflux, which you mentioned you had, right?
Ugh, it's
Did you?
terrible.
Yes, it's terrible. I had that too. And I just used a wedge pillow, which really helped. That was great to sleep
Now,
on
for
that.
me, it's during the day that it bothers me
Oh,
the worst.
oh, that is.
So,
I took Tums. I remember doing Tums, and I
mhm.
supposedly those aren't very. Like people say, you should try this other organic one or something now, but I don't know. I took Tums. They were fine. The babies were fine.
I take Tums and then I take papaya enzymes.
Yes, that's what it is. Papaya enzymes.
Yeah, the problem is the first ingredient is like glucose. So like
Oh.
I have gestational diabetes, so
Oh
I
no.
really have to limit it.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and this pregnancy, speaking of like different supplements to take, towards the end, I was on all kinds of things because I wanted to get the baby out to induce labor, like evening primrose oil.
Yeah.
I started pumping 2 weeks before, like week
Did you get
38.
anything?
Yes, I actually got colostrum and I saved it. I froze it. Yeah. I
That's
know. So that
brilliant.
was great. I actually recommend that now to everybody, even if you like, you should definitely pump around week 38, 39, because it also helps your milk to come in quickly. Like, I don't know why people don't tell people to do that. It really, my milk was like flowing each time, the
Oh.
pumping. I had to pump the first two because they were in the NICU. But
Uh-huh.
again, that really helped the milk to come out. So yeah, I would do it around 30 and it does induce labor too. So if you want that baby to come out,
I would love that.
you should
Let's talk
definitely.
about your doctor. Did you choose your same doctor that you used with your C-sections?
No. So
Ooh.
I know this is drama. So my first two was a very lovely woman that I really liked to be friends with, right? But in the end, in retrospect, I find that maybe there were some ways that she was a little more C-section lenient or C-section not happy, but she was just more wanting to be over cautious and jumping to a C-section versus maybe trying other things first. For example, I feel like I could have been induced for my second birth. They, at like 38 and a half weeks, she said my fluids were really low. And actually, I should step back into my first birth. He ended up being 11 pounds. So he was a giant. I know. So in that case, I did agree with her and I felt like she did the right thing to suggest a C-section. He was so big. I can't even imagine pushing him out. And now that I pushed one out, I actually did feel relief and peace about that birth. And everything was great. He ended up in the NICU though, which was due to the C-section because his breathing, basically their lungs develop as they come in and out of the vaginal canal.
Mhm.
They get a little practice breathing, right? And so his lungs weren't fully developed. So he had to go to the NICU. Plus, he was so big, his blood sugar kept dropping. And that NICU stay was just very hard. I don't know how anybody stays there so long. We were there 5 days for each, the first and the second, and it was brutal, brutal.
Wow.
So I know my heart goes out to every NICU mommy and daddy because it's brutal. So anyway, flash forward to my second birth, I was determined to do a VBAC, but I did nothing to prepare. It was the pandemic and I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I just said to her, yeah, I'm going to push this one out. Okay. You cool with that? And she was like, sure. And I think deep down, she knew she was never going to really let me. And that's where I felt a little frustrated in retrospect because my fluids were so low, I guess, when on my 38-week appointment that she said, well, we have to get this baby out tonight. And because I didn't know what I didn't know, I should have said, well, let me go hydrate. Let me try to get some fluids back. She even offered an IV fluid drip at the hospital, but said, oh, but it's not going to work, as if
Ugh.
don't waste your time. So I didn't even try that. I should have tried that. There were just things in retrospect that I felt were not advised. I should have been induced, which she wouldn't do because a lot of people won't induce a VBAC, but there are plenty of doctors who will. The risk does not go up very high. There's like not a lot of research or evidence to even say there is a risk, basically. I was rushed into a C-section. It was a terrible C-section. All kinds of things went wrong. It was very traumatic. She was urgently raising her voice to get more medical professionals into the room because I guess his head had moved when she made the incision and she had to make a different incision. At the end of the day, she did amazing because she saved my life and his life, but it was very scary, right? Like
Yeah.
I felt for sure one of us was going to not make it out of there. So
Oh
I
God.
was very scared and it was a lot to recover from that. And he was whisked away immediately into the NICU. I didn't get to bond with him. I didn't get to breastfeed right away. Like there was so much that was just horrible that I said to my husband, so and this kind of goes back to your question, did you know you were done before? So in that moment, I did say to him, we are done. I am not having any more kids. You forget these things that you say. But I was like, I can't go through this again. This is horrible. Recovering from a C-section is very hard. And I I feel like it's harder each kid because you have another child to take care of. The first one wasn't so bad, but then the next one was harder. So when I got pregnant the third time, I was like, no way am I recovering from a C-section with two other kids. I'm not going into an operating room that brings so much trauma into my heart. Like I would like shake thinking about it, and every time I listened to a vaginal birth story, I would start to cry because it was just something I wanted so bad and had
Mhm.
planned for. And it just never happened. And so when I got pregnant the third time, I thought, oh my gosh, like maybe this is my chance for like this vaginal birth dream to come true. And I know that sounds kind of silly because some people are like, you're crazy. Like, why would you want to rip up your abs and your vagina? Like
Yeah.
you're going to destroy your body. But for me, it felt like I never even got the chance to try. Like, I never even labored with either baby. And
Yeah.
it just felt like really weird and wrong and not, I wanted to at least try. And so the third one, I did call the first doctor, the C-section doctor.
Mhm.
And when the receptionist was like, oh, she's not delivering babies anymore. And I thought, this is my sign. I couldn't believe it that she wasn't, I don't even know why I called her. I just did because she was my previous doctor.
Sure.
And so when they said that, I thought, okay, this is my sign to try a different way. So I interviewed, I think, 5 or 6 doctors.
Wow.
And yeah, the first two were like, absolutely not. We will not do a VBAC after 2 C-sections. It's not safe. Way too much risk. The risk is uterine rupture, essentially. And you don't want that, obviously. But yeah. But after doing some research, I found out that the risk of a uterine rupture after 1 C-section is about 1.8%. And the risk of a uterine rupture after 2 C-sections, I believe it goes up to almost 3%. Then there was number 3 and number 4 who both said, we will do it with these contingencies. So they were what I call VBAC tolerant because they would do the VBAC for me, but only if I was in labor by 40 weeks, if the baby was in the right position. Like they had all this list of things. And by the way, my age was a risk factor, which is
Hmm.
completely not evidence-based. But to these two doctors, that was a risk that I
Hmm.
was old, an old mom. So the doctor I chose, who was VBAC tolerant, also insisted that I saw a specialist, which was his MFM, maternal fetal or fetal medicine doctor. And if that doctor, the MFM, said there was any risk at all, then this doctor wouldn't do the VBAC. So I had to go to the MFM I think it was like every 6 to 8 weeks. And at like my 20th week appointment, he was like, oh, I see a small uterine window in your uterine wall, which is like a tear, basically. And that could be indicative that you could rupture. And the window, according to him, was like, I think it was like 1 millimeter thick or something. It was crazy. It was very small, but he saw it. I burst into tears because I knew at 20 weeks, this isn't going to be better. This problem isn't going away.
Uh-huh.
And so I knew he wasn't going to sign off on it and that he was going to tell the OB that this isn't a good idea. So I went to see another specialist that is more VBAC supportive. And he said the ultrasound that the first MFM used is not accurate because he explained how the ultrasound picture is taken and it will
Uh-huh.
make things look like worse than they actually are, for number one. And he said,
Oh.
number two, a uterine window has never in any study correlated to uterine rupture ever. So there's no evidence that this will cause a uterine rupture. So he made me feel really good. And he also
Yeah.
said that the fact that you've never labored makes me feel confident that you could do this, actually, that your body
Yeah.
could do this. There's nothing wrong that you've presented in your
Hmm.
labors. Like some people just don't progress, but I had never even tried. So,
Yeah.
he's like, I see no problem and no reason you shouldn't try. And he and my doula and my chiropractor all wanted me to go to this other OB who I had interviewed, but I did not love his personality. And
Hmm.
I just was like, oh, but he is known as the VBAC king. He does high risk birth, he does breech birth, he does twins, triplets, multiples, vaginally, everything. He goes to Guatemala a couple times a year and literally delivers babies in the middle of the forest. Like he is
Wow.
phenomenal doctor, phenomenal. But
Uh-huh.
his personality to me at first was lacking. I did not want to be best friends with him. I was just like, what is, it was just like a bit quirky, if you will. Like he would
Uh-huh.
tell jokes that I was like, why are you joking about this? This is not funny. Like it was very weird to me. And I'm a comedian. Like you would think I would be like, ha ha ha. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't find it funny. Plus, I ironically had been in a birth of his before COVID when they would let people in the birthing room with one of my best friends. I got to be her coach and he was the OB and same thing, making jokes and stuff. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, no, thank you. So I did not want to go to him, but everybody was saying you need to give him another chance. Well, flash forward to 30 weeks. And sure enough, MFM says it's too dangerous. OB says you cannot actually. Oh my gosh, I was 32 weeks at this point because I remember thinking I have 2 months left to find a doctor. Like, this is crazy.
And you didn't
And
switch at this point.
no, because I was still like fingers crossed, maybe the uterine window will look better, you know? So
Uh-huh.
I went to that appointment at 32 weeks with the MFM and the OB, and
Uh-huh.
they both were like, nope, can't do it. The uterine window's bigger. We can't do this. I'm not going to sign off. And I was like, what do I do? Because I really liked this doctor personality wise, but
Uh-huh.
I just was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I really was stuck and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I went back to that first, the other doctor that everybody says to go to. And I saw him in a completely different light. I don't know. I just was like, he can get the job done. He is the man for the job. I don't care about his stupid jokes. I don't, he's not going to be my best friend, but he is going to get this job done. And sure enough, he was amazing. He did not, first of all, measure the baby. You know how they're like, oh, baby's looking pretty big, at the ultrasound or whatever. None of that. He didn't tell me the weight he thought it was. I was worried because my first two were so big. I
Uh-huh.
said, do you think he's really big? And he said to me, how big do you think he is? And I was like, I don't know. He feels normal. Like I've been really trying to keep my weight down. Not that I even gained that much the first two, by the way. It has nothing to do with that. But like in my mind, I thought maybe it did. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I said, I think he's pretty normal. And he goes, then he is. He had no. And I said to him, what if I go over 40 weeks? Because the first two were like, can't go over 40 weeks. You will have to do a
Yes.
C-section, you know? And he said, it's fine. We'll just wait and see what happens. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. Yeah, because I mean, again, he's been in the middle of nowhere delivering babies and
Yeah.
seeing that it's fine, that a
Yeah.
woman's body knows what to do.
But first, I
So,
want to go over that you
yes,
changed doctors at
I know.
32 weeks.
Insane.
That
Insane.
because, a lot of people feel stuck at their with
Hmm.
their old doctor, let alone at 32 weeks. So
I
I think
know.
that's amazing.
Crazy. It was insane. And the fact that my husband, by the way, shout out to him, he was so supportive and so just like, whatever you want to do, I will support you because he knew how important to me this was. And I even, when the doctor said he wouldn't do it and left the room, I was like sobbing. And I said, I felt like shame. Isn't that weird? Like, I felt like your body's not going to do this. You can't do this.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Like, I just was like sobbing. And I said to myself, why did we even get pregnant? Like, this is crazy. Like, why, and I felt shame over saying that. Like, it was like this whole crazy mind game. Part of me was like, well, what if I were to just go into labor at home and waited to the very last minute to go into the hospital? Like, what is he going to do? Not deliver the baby and force to cut me open? Like, I don't know. Like, these thoughts were going through my head. And there's so many people that do home births for a VBAC. So I knew that it would be fine if I was in a hospital. My friend had had a VBAC home birth and she was completely fine. But also, you could always transfer to a hospital, by the way. But
Yes.
I just felt like if I was starting in a hospital under the care of a doctor, yes, there's some risk. But I mean, it's not like I'm in the middle of the woods here. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
have everything we need at our disposal. I did not
Mhm.
feel like I'm not a high risk person. This was, to me, the most calculated risk that
Mhm.
was possible. So, all that to say, I felt very comfortable going ahead and changing. Like, I wasn't as scared changing and going forward with my plan as I was to stay with him and have a C section.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I love that you said it's a calculated risk. I think that's
Yeah.
perfectly said.
Right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not like I'm just swinging it. And at that point too, by the way, I was like an expert in VBAC. I mean, I feel still that I am. Like I had read every single thing you could possibly read. I had listened to every podcast you could possibly listen to. I knew everything. And I felt like, yeah, it was going to happen and I was going to do this. And so, yeah, I went forward with this crazy, quirky doctor who turned out to be a rock star. Oh, the other stipulation that the first doctor had was that I could only go 24 hours in labor, and anything after that was going to be C-section, full
Ugh,
stop. No, I know. So,
that's
what I know
silly.
now, it is silly because what most people don't know, even after your water breaks, because they start the clock, my water broke
Yes.
for the third one. This doctor did not start the clock because the clock is not evidence based. Essentially, there is some risk, but there's risk in again, at anytime you're laboring, there's risk that there could be an infection or whatever.
Hmm.
So I labored for 48 hours until the baby was born.
In the
And
hospital?
it started, I want to say 2 a.m. till went to the hospital around 11 a.m. So it was like the first 9, 10 hours was at home. I should have stayed home longer because when I got to the hospital, I thought it was like about to give birth. And this is like so classic first time laboring because I'm like, oh, this baby's falling out. You guys better get ready. And I get there and they're like, you're at a one.
Oh gosh, how
What?
disappointing.
Oh, it was so disappointing. But my doula is also a midwife. She's a certified midwife. And she
Mm.
was amazing. And she's like, I think you're farther along. You're probably at a 3. But like she was encouraging me to stay home more. And I was like, nope, we gotta go. I feel it. It's coming. I should have listened to her. She was very kind and she was very firm too. Like, I really think you should stay home. But I also had 2 other kids running around. It was stressing me out to stay home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in retrospect, she was right. I should have stayed home longer because when you're in the hospital, what they say is true. If you're not there, they can't do anything to you. And as soon as I got there, they hooked me up to the monitor, which is fine. I had safety first, but the wireless monitor wasn't giving any signal. So I had to have wires, made it really hard to walk and move and do things that I needed to do to get the baby to drop, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I do recommend stay home as long as you can, as long as it's safe. Definitely have a doula if you're staying home, you know? So it would have been a little better. That being said, again, my doctor was amazing and he would call and be like, how you feeling? Great. Okay, cool. Just keep going. Like he was so chill and never made me feel at all rushed, anything. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
So
And
like you talked to him at home before you went to the
so
hospital?
I did. Called
Okay.
him at home and he kind of wanted to know, did your water break? I wasn't sure that my water had broke because it was very small. It was like trickling, basically. I thought it was the mucus plug. But when I got to the hospital, they said my water had broke.
Okay.
So I didn't go to the hospital. And then my contractions were, what is it, like 311, whatever it's supposed to be, like on the contraction, 3 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute for 1 hour.
Okay.
So that's what they were. It could be 411 now that I think about it, 4 minutes apart. But whatever that is, you go to the hospital. And on my contraction app, they were like, you should go to the hospital. So I'm like, okay. So, but I knew, I think when I called him too and told him they were 311, he was like, okay, go to the hospital, you know, and he wanted me hooked up to the monitor so he could monitor from afar and he would get the reports. So I get that. I just really wish that those wires are hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to labor with them. And I get it. But they were also the first nurse. So the whole labor story is really, really wild in general. But it was almost like the nurses got progressively better as the labor went on. And I had like this crazy prayer list, okay? Like very spiritual. I had like my prayer list of what I wanted to happen in the birth. And by the way, everything was answered except for one thing, which I'll get to. But one of the prayers was for supportive nurses because a VBAC after 2 C-sections and being 41 years old, they look at you differently and they're
Yeah.
not supportive. You know, they're like, this isn't, they're just negative. And the first nurse she was very intense and very negative, and she kept pushing it's called a inner uterine IUPC, inner uterine or IUCP. I don't know, catheter placement, something. But it's basically a catheter inserted into your vagina, I think, yes, to to monitor the uterus, right?
Uh-huh.
But there's like this very low risk that it can cause bleeding, not rupture, but like bleeding. And I'm like, I had worked all this time to do this. I don't want to even have any risk at this point. Like I'm already here. Like why add to the risk, right?
Right.
It's already some risk. So I kept denying it and pushing it away. But she was like pretty intense about it. I got her to stop eventually. But the next nurse was awesome. And the third nurse was phenomenal, which I'll get to. They also at the same time were pressuring me, and my doctor was pressuring me to put in a epidural catheter because he's like, I know you don't want an epidural, but I want it just in case you do have to go to a C-section that we can fill it. And he's like, just put on your seatbelt. And he had been so supportive and so chill about everything else that I was like, okay, I'll do it. But I really wish I hadn't done that because that was literally the only source of pain the entire 48 hours of labor.
No
I
way.
did not have pain. I felt discomfort, like when you're working out really hard or you're running really hard, working really hard, you feel like, oh man, this is hard, but you don't, I didn't feel like, ow, 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 like that kind of pain.
Uh-huh.
I didn't need the epidural. Like I was fine. I was praying and worshiping. I had worship music on. I was doing hypno babies. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, that's what I
It
want
was
to do.
it's amazing. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. I had it playing like the whole time. Just it was so awesome. I was literally singing out loud through every contraction. I know it's wild. Like you can go to my videos on my VBAC story. Like it was wild. The nurses were like, she's like singing, like full blown. I'm a singer too, so that makes sense. But I was like full on singing songs, Broadway songs, worship songs, everything. And I was like, I was in a state of gratitude too. That I really like to tell people that is something I recommend because every contraction, I was like, thank you, God. Thank you for giving me this because I had been through hell with that second birth. And
Mm.
if I didn't have this labor right now, I wouldn't be here. So thank you for letting this happen for me.
Uh-huh.
So the other weird thing though about, so there, going back to that epidural catheter, it was for whatever reason, the way it was placed or where the baby's head was, I think it was where his head was. Because as he started descending more, the pain went away. But it was so painful that I was vomiting. This is from the catheter. Like just when they placed it, I
Yeah, you
started,
don't even have
there was
drugs.
exactly, it was so bizarre. Everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. This hurts so bad. Like, get this off of me, but they can't. And like, it's the whole thing. It was so painful. So don't recommend getting that. But anyway,
Uh,
that was a whole nother. So all that to say though, the weird thing was as soon as I got to the hospital, my contractions slowed down and
mm,
they started coming every 7 minutes, every 10 minutes, every like 5 minutes. And in between these contractions, I would fall asleep, like full on snoring, completely asleep. I know. And everybody again in the room was like, this is crazy. And my husband was just laughing because it's kind of known in my friend group that I can fall asleep anywhere. And I just like a very deep sleeper as one of 8 kids, I guess. I don't know. But I was like full blown asleep, which so it was almost like this gift from God, like that I had these long contraction periods. My doctor was like, we need to speed these up. This is not good because obviously you need to keep opening as time goes on.
yeah.
So he said, I really want to put you on Pitocin. This was, I want to say, the 24-hour mark. He said, let's get some Pitocin going, so that kind of is what I was referring to earlier. That's why I wish she would have induced me. I mean, he put me on Pitocin. There's supposedly more of a risk of uterine rupture. He did not
Mm.
think so at all. He said there's no evidence for that.
Huh.
So anyway, we started Pitocin at about 24 hours and it did not help at all. Like the lowest amount didn't help. So he just kept upping it and upping it and upping it until I was finally at the max Pitocin. And by the way, one of my things I did not want was Pitocin because I heard it makes the contractions really painful. I
Yes.
didn't feel any pain. It was still no different, like at all.
What?
I felt no different. These
Oh my
contractions were
gosh.
the same. I know. So I just was like, all right, I guess keep upping it. Like I want this baby out, but it didn't make a difference to me, honestly. Like I just was like, is it helping? But it wasn't. It wasn't even helping the contractions come.
I was gonna ask, what were you doing? I know you were sleeping a little bit. What were you doing for like those 48 hours? Were you walking around? Was the doula like trying to get
Great
him
question.
down?
Yes. So we were doing every position. Like she would be pushing, it's called, I can't remember what it's called. It's like it starts with an R. She has your hands on the back, and then she has like this material that she's kind of rubbing on your lower back, and
Okay.
I was like on all fours with that. She would have me sit on the toilet a lot, walking as much as possible, but it was hard with those wires. I did a lot of side lying on the ball with the ball between my legs, the peanut ball. That's why I
Yes.
would fall asleep as well, because I would have this peanut ball between my legs and then I'd fall asleep like that. I know. So it was like the perfect position. We did the royal or the queen position. I think you're like sitting up high on the top of the bed with your legs. Oh, the throne. That's what it's called. The throne, the royal, the queen. The throne. That position was really great. Anything that would like help him descend and help him drop. She kept massaging me. My husband, bless his heart, literally did not stop the entire time massaging me. Like he just was like so supportive. And so both of them, Joanna, my doula, and Tony, my husband, I don't even know how they did it. I know like I'm the one in labor, but they were having to push through for 48 hours, no eating.
How fun. I
I
want to
know.
labor like that.
And then it was like I want to say hour 41, 42 or so. All of a sudden, I felt the urge. I was in that side lying position with the
Hmm.
peanut ball between my legs, and I felt the urge to push. And everything, I mean, this is like gross, but everything just fell out of my body, like grossness, right? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this baby's coming. And everybody in the room started getting excited. The baby's coming. That's a sign when you start expelling everything in your body like that.
Yeah.
So everyone's getting excited. They're prepping the room and they call the doctor. The resident doctor comes in and checks me, and she's like, "You're still out of 8." And I was
Uh,
like, what? Like, there's no way. I felt like he was coming out right then. And that's the moment, the only moment that I got discouraged. I started crying and I just was like, I'm tired. Like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is now
uh,
starting to get to me. Yeah. And I just looked at my husband and Joanna and my doula. I was like, I don't know, guys. Like maybe I should tap out. Maybe I just don't know anymore. And all okay, so they were like, no, you're not stopping now. You're gonna have this baby. And Joanna reminded me, she's like, it's when you say that that the baby's about to come. So just like keep going. And the third nurse, this is the one I was referring to, Shamika, before, she was like, I see you worshiping. I see you praying. I see you singing. You're not giving up. You're doing this. And I'm like, okay. Like it was like out of a movie. I'm like, I could do this, you know. Joanna said that it's in the resident's best interest to say that you are not as far along as you are. Like when you measure, it's subjective. Somebody's fingers
yes.
are different from another person's, right? There is a margin of error for sure. And Joanna was like, listen, she's going to say you're the lowest possible because if she calls the doctor too soon and he gets there and you're not ready, he's going to be not happy, you know? So Joanna was like, you're complete. I'm pretty sure you're complete because she's a midwife. Like she's seen over 2,000 births she'd been at. So she had seen
Wow.
everything. She's like, you're going to have this baby any minute now. So sure enough, the doctor comes, checks me, and he's like, you're complete. Let's push. I'm like, ah. And so I went from like the lowest low to the highest high in like 2 seconds. It was amazing. So he gets me ready. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't want to be on your back pushing. You want them to let you push in whatever position. But Joanna had warned me that this doctor really likes women to be on their back and he has like a special reason and way. And I actually really liked it because what he did was he had my legs propped up and my hands were on these bars.
Uh-huh.
And I asked for a mirror so I could see my progress because I thought that would be encouraging. And I could pull the bars and push my legs against actually, Joanna had one leg and Tony had the other leg. So, like I said, they were like physically working the whole time too. And I was like pushing against them, pulling on the bars, watching in the mirror. And that really helped to just like physically dig into it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And someone had said to me, it feels like you're taking the biggest dump of your life. And that is exactly right. That it is like the most constipated you've ever felt. Like literally, that's what it feels like. Push that dump out. So I'm like holding on, pulling, pushing with my legs, look at the mirror, and it is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So that's how the baby's lungs get that practice, because they're going a little, they're out, but then they're pulling back in, out and pulling. But it is so frustrating to watch that, because you're like, wait, his head was just out and now it's back in. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so this went on for 3 hours.
Uh,
I know. So it finally got to the point where my doctor was like, listen, you have like 1 centimeter left, maybe half an inch. I don't know what he said, something very small. And he said, I want to use the vacuum to get him out. And I'm like, yes, do whatever. Get this baby out. Because actually, most doctors would have definitely called me to a C-section by then. You know what I mean? Like, no doubt. I was still having these crazy long contraction periods, by the way. I was still falling asleep in between. It was insane. It was so weird. So he's like, let's just use the vacuum and get it. I'm like, yes, great, please. And he basically said, it's going to hurt. So I want to fill your catheter with epidural. And I was like, doctor, I don't need it. This was on my list, by the way. I did not want
uh-huh.
an epidural.
Mhm.
Okay. Because the first 2 pregnancies, I have nothing against epidurals. In fact, a lot of times I was definitely encouraging people to have one. But for me, it's more likely you're going into a C-section if you have one. So I did not want one.
Mhm.
And I had been so drugged up the first 2 that I don't even really remember. I wasn't present for meeting those babies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that again. I don't want to be there. I want to be present. I want to feel everything. So, so he's like, I'm going to put some push epidural in your catheter so you don't feel this vacuum. And then I'm going to stitch you up after, and you won't feel that either. And I said, no, I don't need it. I'm fine. And he's like, no, we're going to do it. And by then I was so exhausted. I had no fight left in me. I'm like, fine, whatever, just fill, I don't care anymore. So the anesthesiologist came in,
Mhm.
and she was about to fill the catheter and said, oh, there's a crack in the cap, a small crack. I know, this is insane, because I'm telling you, this was on my prayer list. And I'm like, and she's like, we can't put epidural in here. And the doctor's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, we can't do it. It goes against protocol. There could be bacteria. It could be contaminated. Can't fill this. And he's like, it's fine. Because again, he's like this crazy cowboy doctor. He doesn't think it's a big deal. He's like, the chances of that are very low. Just fill it. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And I said, it's okay. I didn't want it anyway. And he's like, okay, here we go then. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. He pushes on, it's like he did this like big push on my stomach, and then the
Uh-huh.
pull with the vacuum. And if you've had a C-section, it felt like that. They push on your uterus
Mm.
and they pull the baby out. And that's just what it felt like. So for me, it didn't hurt at all. Like I was really ready to feel a lot of pain. And I'm like, oh, that was it. And even the stitching didn't hurt. I barely had any tear, by the way. I had like a second
Wow.
degree small tear. Yes. And which was insane considering how long I pushed. Like, I can't even believe that. I didn't hurt. The stitches did not hurt. He pulled him out. He was crying right away. He was just literally, oh, I like tear up thinking about it, like so perfect. So his head was perfect, which they say vaginal babies, their heads aren't as perfect, but his was. He was crying so loud, and but he crawled up, did the whole boob crawl right away to my breast, and
Uh,
breastfed right away. We did not get separated. My first 2 were separated immediately to the NICU. He slept in my arms the whole first night. The nurses came in, because you're supposed to have him in the bassinet. And
mhm.
they'd come in, and he was like on me, and they're like, "Oh, are you nursing?" I'm like, "Yeah." But no, we were sleeping together, because I was not letting that baby go. Like I just didn't care. I knew it would
Yeah.
be okay. And he was so great and so perfect in every way. It was amazing. No NICU.
Oh,
We were out of the hospital
love that.
48 hours. I know. My healing was night and day. I was up and about. I went to a birthday party 4 days later. It
Oh
was a
my
kid's
gosh.
birthday in the
Wait,
day. So,
how big was this one?
oh yeah. So he was 9'5". Yes, he was gigantic. Yeah, I don't know. I just make big babies. I was never gestational diabetes. I don't know. It's like my second one would have been, he was the smallest. He was 8'11", but he was 38 and a half weeks. So think about it. He would have
Yeah.
been 9 something, maybe 10.
Wow.
So yeah, I know. It was insane. Like, he was so big. His head was so big too. But it was fine. I barely tore. I don't know. I just, women, our bodies know what to do. And this is not to say that C-sections are not valid, necessary. We should be grateful for them. I am grateful for my first one. I felt a lot of peace about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think sometimes we get a little C-section happy, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's get into your recovery. Tell us
Yes.
more.
Okay. So yeah, it definitely hurt to sit the first 2 days. Like
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of sitz baths and I wasn't prepared for that because the C-sections, it's a different pain. But the vaginal birth pain, yeah, like it would be like uncomfortable to sit. It would hurt a little. But that was after, oh, I did those frozen padsicles where
Yeah.
you freeze the pads with the aloe and all the stuff. Those really helped, like big time helped.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like aloe, some sort
Witch
of
hazel?
oil, witch hazel. There you
Yep.
go. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. It was awesome. Those felt so good. But like I was walking and doing everything normal after 2 days of not even 2 days. Like we were in the hospital for 48 hours. We went home and I feel like I was literally normal watching my kids. It was
Wow.
amazing. And we went to that birthday party day 4. I went and leased a car on day 5, like because we needed a bigger car. Like, oh, oops. I know. So, I mean, all these things. I was tired. I was definitely tired because I'm older and I have 3 kids now.
Were you able to breastfeed with this one too?
Yes, so easy. I think too, he was my third, so I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
But his latch, like I knew the tricks on how to get him to latch easily. My first was the most difficult because I had never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And the third was just so easy. I'm still breastfeeding him.
That's what I was going to ask. How do you
Yeah.
decide? Do they wean themselves or is that you kind of deciding that?
It was a little bit of both for all 3. The first one I had heard a year is when you wean, and he self-weaned. He was so easy because he loved food. I mean, to this day, he's a foodie. He eats everything under the sun. It's hilarious. But he was just so into food. People used to laugh. Like I'd post these videos of him just like eating so much. It's crazy. So he kind of was just not interested. And his personality is very like if he finds something else he's interested in, he forgets about the prey. Do you know what I mean? So he would be breastfeeding and he would look off and see something and just like push me away and like jump out of my arms. So I'm like, I'm done. This is frustrating at this point, you know?
Yeah.
So we stopped at a year. It was fine and great and actually way easier to wean that way. But emotionally, I was a little sad. I'm not gonna lie. Like emotionally, I wasn't ready to give up that bonding that
Uh-huh.
we had. So when my second, I let him go for 2 years, 23 months because I just loved it. And I thought he was my last. And so I just kept going. And then finally I was like, all right, it's time. And it was really just down to that night feeding. And I knew he could do it. So
Yeah.
we stopped. And I sort of feel like the same thing is happening with my third, that he's just down to that nighttime feeding. And I think it'll be probably, I'm guessing around 18 months. I just got that new job as the podcast host. So I'm out of town every other month. So I feel like he's going to be soonish, 16 to 18 months probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
And
have to do it.
mentally, how were you during postpartum?
I'm pretty good. The pregnancy and postpartum, I feel like I was really blessed because even though I definitely felt a hormone shift with the postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't feel depressed or anything. It was more like maybe a little more anxiety, I would say, like worrying about the stupidest things, weird, intrusive thoughts would come in my head.
Uh-huh.
I noticed that, like, I would be the first, especially hands down. The second and the third, I kind of knew what to expect
Mm-hmm.
mentally. But the first, I remember calling my best friend in the middle of the night because I fell asleep with the baby on my chest. And that wasn't even what I was worried about, by the way, because you're not supposed to do that. I was worried about the fact that I had self tanner on my chest and that he was inhaling it. So I called her freaking out. And she's like, wait, you fell asleep with him on your chest. He's fine though, right? Just put him in the bassinet. And I'm like, no, no, no. But I had self tanner on. She's like, oh my God. Like she's postpartum. Like, that's insane. Go back to sleep. He's fine. Like stuff like that. It was so weird. The third, I felt because I had the other two and they're also close in age, I felt a little bit more mom rage happening. And that was really scary and sad to me because I didn't want to be that mom, the yelling and the snapping. And but I was just so tired, like so tired. I've never been so tired in my life. And I actually just feel like I'm coming out of that fog.
Wow. After a
Yeah,
year.
after a year, I'd say probably around month 10, 11, I was like, okay, I am starting to feel like I'm back to myself. I'm getting full night's rest. And okay, I'm not a mean mom anymore. I kind of feel sorry for my 5 and 3-year-old because there were just moments where I'm like, that was not a rational reaction to what they just did, but I'm just
Yeah.
so sleep deprived, like
Yeah.
torture.
Hmm.
It's so sad. And you're trying all these, especially now, gentle parenting and the way social media makes you feel like you should be this perfect parent all the time. And it's just not possible.
Yeah. And what do you think has been your biggest challenge being pregnant over 40?
I think maybe the tiredness, like the energy. I don't know though, because I don't have much to compare it to, unless you count my late 30s. But I feel like even my friends in their 20s were tired or their 30s. Like it's just pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like you're carrying a human. But yeah, also sometimes, like I said, the comments and the rudeness of people, that's hard. That's hard to
Yeah.
deal with. And the medical community labeling you as geriatric, mentally that gets in your head a bit.
Hmm.
So I feel like the more you can like just frame your mind differently and shut out all the noise like that, the better.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
Yes. Like, yes. Definitely exercise as much as you can. Exercise and stay flexible. Very much recommend a doula without a doubt. But I would
Yes.
recommend that no matter what your age is, like definitely need a doula. I just think it's so much better. They know, and an experienced doula too. And that's not to say the new ones can't be great, but the ones I have seen a lot know how to navigate and help you navigate. But yeah, just really trying to like listen to things like this, like the podcast like this, or any birth podcast that is going to put you in a positive frame of mind, something that's going to like keep you really positive and know that you can do this. You're not old. Your body was meant to do this. So
Yep.
women have had babies in their 40s forever because before there was birth control, they just kept having babies.
Yep.
So it's not like we're not meant to do this. My mom had her first at 26 and her last at 40.
And
Yeah.
what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Try not to worry. Try to stay positive, meditate as much as possible. Oh, that's another one. Expectful, the app. I love that. It's a meditation app
Oh,
for pregnancy, birth, and beyond.
okay.
I never do the beyond because I have the kids then and don't have time. But during pregnancy, I did it for each one, and it's really great. So I definitely recommend that to just put your mind in a state of positivity.
And you kind of mentioned before, but a lot of our listeners are trying to conceive over 40. And what would you say to those women?
So I did not I feel like IVF and everything is definitely something that you should not be ashamed of and that you should full on go get everything checked before trying to conceive. I say this to women in their 20s, go to a reproductive specialist. I did not do that. And I didn't know that I had endometriosis. I wish that way when we first got married that I had went to a reproductive specialist and just figured things out, right?
Yep.
And knew what I was dealing with.
Yeah. Tell us where our listeners can find you on the internet and all your
Yes,
fun old moms videos.
you can see the old moms videos on my Instagram and my TikTok at Selah Victor.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you, Selah, so much for coming on the
thank you,
show and sharing your
Jamie.
story.
Oh, it was so great to talk with you. You're awesome. Thank you.